Support everything we do at MWP News by visiting co-fi.com/MWP News. Every donation helps us stay independent. For breaking entertainment news, reviews, and more, check out MWPnews.com. If you love games, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming for reviews and gameplay. Links for all of this will be in the show notes, as well as links to the other podcasts. Thank you for your continued support. Good evening, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. On this, it is still early. We haven't quite hit mid-August yet. It's still early August, and Freakier Friday came out this week. Weapons came out this week. I did not see either of those movies. I'm not a horror fan, so Weapons was a hard sell for me to begin with. But Freakier Friday is not something that I was particularly interested in either. And, I watched Freaky Friday as a kid. It came out when I was the right age to go and see that movie. But it's not something that I would necessarily say that I was, I wasn't interested in seeing a sequel. And, everything about it screamed, this feels like Home Sweet Home Alone, or Cheaper by the Dozen, or, any number of other movies that are like that, movies from that era that were designed to be, legacy sequels to, the things that were big, Disney live-action original movies from, the mid-2000s. Anyway, I'm filibustering myself because I saw My Mother's Wedding, which is a new movie that I only found out about because I saw the trailer several times before this came out. And in this movie, and the thing, I don't want to say the selling point, the sticking point of morbid curiosity was, I'm like, is that Scarlett Johansson doing a British accent for an entire movie as the lead? And the answer would be yes, that is Scarlett Johansson doing a British accent for an entire movie as the lead. Coming off of a year where, earlier this year, one of my favorite movies so far is Materialists, I was like, okay, let's see Scarlett Johansson try to do something like this. And years ago, there was a criticism of Stephen Moffat of Doctor Who and Sherlock fame, where he talked about, it was a Tumblr post that probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago at this point. It's a Tumblr post where they say Stephen Moffat is good at writing moments. You'll have a great idea, this is going to be the moment of the script, and it's going to be the big thing that everyone's going to talk about, and everyone's going to love this, it's going to be cool. And that's going to be, the big thing. That's going to be really cool. The stuff leading up to and immediately after never quite feels right, which is why you end up with these weird things where it's you remember these big bombastic moments from Matt Smith's run or parts of David Tennant's run, but then it's if you think about it for too hard, they don't really make a ton of sense. And that's kind of what we, where we are with this movie. The movie has some solid moments, but it is an hour and a half long. It is incredibly poorly paced, and I would say to a unholy degree poorly paced, this movie, to the point where it's borderline unwatchable. But what I conceded while I was watching it is that this is a movie designed for people to watch on HBO or on Starz or on whatever, premium cable. This is a movie that's designed to be watched while you're doing something else. If you have to sit down and watch it all the way through with nothing else around you, raw dog the movie, as the kids would say now, this is not a good experience, because there's so much going on with so many characters, and nothing's really laid out, to the point that Scarlett Johansson is playing a lesbian in the movie, and her girlfriend's name is Jack, and she has a son, Scarlett Johansson. So when Jack shows up, I was completely unaware that was meant to be her girlfriend for a good amount of time. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm like, who is this random woman? and why is her mother here at this wedding with her? And then it kind of clicks, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, there's so much going on. There are 3 separate small movies happening on top of the mother's wedding. It's like Scarlett Johansson has to learn how to, not put her career first and make more time for her son and her girlfriend. Sienna Miller has to, she's basically in a Hallmark movie, I guess would be the best way to define what she's going through in this, where it's like she's a Hollywood actress, she's a big franchise star, she's playing Scarlett Johansson in the movie, and she has to, and she goes back to her small town and reunites with this guy that she was, that she was romantically involved with years prior, was the first love, and it never really, caught fire, and now she has multiple divorces with this career, and now she's settling back into that, but then her maybe boyfriend, this French guy who's very rich, comes over, and it's this whole thing. It's like there are so many smaller movies, and then on top of that you have Emily Beecham, I think is the actress's name. I don't know her character's name, but she's the youngest sister of the 3, who's going through this rough patch with her husband because her husband is a compulsive womanizer. And all of this is to say, there's a lot going on in this movie, but nothing actually happens. And that's, I think, what makes the pacing so poor, is the fact that we get to the end of this movie, and it feels like it's over. Like, it's the kind of movie where you're like, oh, this movie is going on way too long. This should be about a good 20 minutes shorter. And then you look at the runtime, like, the movie's an hour and a half long, and you're like, oh, so they couldn't do that because then the movie wouldn't be feature length. It would just, it's the kind of thing where it's like, as I'm watching, I'm like, is this meant to be a short film that they expanded out to be a feature, that they get a lot more money? Because it's like, they're shooting on an aircraft carrier at one point, and it's like, was this necessary? Was this necessary to blow the budget up this much to shoot on this aircraft carrier and have to go into the costuming for all these people and hire all these extras and this whole thing? Like, there is so much in this movie that is just like doesn't need to be there. It's you don't need to, like, I feel like this is kind of the end result of the thing we always hear: make sure every character has an arc. Like, we talk about that a lot. Make sure every character has an arc, and not every character needs to have an arc. I think the more accurate thing is make sure every character services the plot. Would be a more accurate thing in a movie like this, because, like, at the end of the day, I don't know who the main character is. I think it's meant to be Scarlett Johansson, but she doesn't actually change by the end of the movie, and that's the thing, is that it's like when we talk about a static versus a dynamic character, like, you can have a static protagonist, and that is something that can work well. The characters that are the same beginning to the end of the movie. But you have to make it where they're making a conscious choice to stay that way and not just go with the flow, which is kind of what this is. At no point in this movie does any character make a decision that has any impact on anything besides the decision to watch the video of Emily Beecham's husband cheating on her. But beyond that, there's no decisions to be made. And if it's just meant to be, this is meant to be a look at the this weekend of this wedding, that's fine. You can do that, because we've seen things like this before. There's a universe in which this is just a British version of the episode of the Bear, 7 Fishes, where it's like it's this big family get together, and it's just the drama that comes from having disparate family members reunite, and that's something that's going to happen. And like, that would have been there's a fucking accident on this road. There's always an accident on this road. That would have been something that would have been more, interesting, I think. What would have ended up happening is you would have ended up in a situation where it's like it's about the dynamics, and functionally, because there are so many characters here and all of them are in this very limited runtime trying to be given something to do, none of them really do anything, and I can't tell any of them apart. Like, there's a flock of children in this movie. I don't know who belongs to which parent. And I think the thing is, like I said, this movie works if you are sitting on your phone playing a game, or if you are putting something on as ambient noise while you're cooking dinner, or you're putting something on TV, just that way there's something else going on in the house while you're doing something you look up periodically. That's what this movie works for. This movie does not work if you're trying to actually watch a movie. Like, actually actively watch a movie. This is the kind of thing that would have been better if it was put on Netflix, or put on Prime, or put on, BritBox, or put on whatever streaming service is going to run this. And also, what the fuck is Scarlett Johansson doing here? Like, that's the thing about this movie that I'm watching, that I'm like, there are so many decisions that just artificially inflate the budget, and I'm not sure to what end. Like, what was the point of doing this? Like, it's clearly a British propaganda thing, like for the British Army, in the same way that, like, Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick are, propaganda for the U.S. Army. It's like, very clearly this is meant to be that. And they probably got, look at how great these are war heroes who fought in the Falkland Island War. Like, this is something that, like, they say war hero so many times in this movie, you would think it was a Fox News bit from, like, 2004 in the height of the Iraq conflict. Like, it's the kind of thing where it's, like, very clearly this movie was designed to be selling the British Navy, and portray the British Navy well. The issue with this is that the movie itself is so boring that by the time you get to the end, it makes that into a glaring, like, obvious thing that's happening, where it's like, when you see a movie that does propaganda like this well, pro-military propaganda, when done well, you're not aware you're watching pro-military propaganda. That's how it's supposed to be done, because by the minute that I'm, the illusion is broken, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, why am I, like, what feels like 3.5 hours into this movie, and we're just now getting onto the stupid fucking airship. Like, not airship, that's, because I was thinking in my head, it's like, oh, look, Scarlett Johansson's in charge of the helicarrier now, cool. But, like, I'm trying to see what's causing this traffic jam up ahead. I can't quite figure it out. It looks like it clears out after that light, so I'm not gonna try and turn off here. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sitting here watching this, I'm not enjoying my time with it. And that is probably the biggest issue that you can have with a movie like this. I'm all for a good low-stakes family drama movie, but you gotta make me care about the family. If you can't make me care about the family, then I'm wasting my time watching this movie. And that's exactly what I felt like as I'm watching it. As I'm sitting here, I'm like, I probably should have gone to see Freakier Friday, to be completely honest, because I feel like Freakier Friday would have drawn in more listeners, because it's a name. Like, that this movie is not one that's going to, what the fuck is going on? It's not even like there's an accident or something. Whatever it is that caused the problem must have cleared out, which is annoying. But yeah, I would skip this. This is a movie that, like, as I'm watching it, especially toward the beginning, it's the kind of thing where, like, as I'm watching it at the start of the movie, I'm kind of like, okay, this is something that I could see being, like, a movie that, like, Starz picks up, and there's a lot of people who watch it on Starz, and it's got that, that group that's like, oh, this is a movie that would have a great second life on home media, like when we talked about It last year. It was like, this is a movie that, seeing it in theaters, I wasn't overly thrilled about, but, 7-year-old me, had they watched it on VHS, would have loved this movie. And that's kind of what this is. It's like, okay, if this movie came out, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of entertaining. It's not that bad. But sitting in a theater and forced to reckon with the movie in real time with, with nothing to distract yourself, or nothing to pull your attention elsewhere, that's the kind of thing that, like, is not great. And this is a movie that will do well on streaming because you can get up and you can leave and you can do things and you can, turn it off, come back to it. And then it's like, because I think the thing is, it's like all of these moments in this movie where you have, what's it called, where you have these big character development moments happen. The one thing that I keep coming back to, oh, okay, there was an accident. They were just towing the car off. Got it. Okay. Well, that's fine then. When you have these, these big character moments that are like, designed to be these breakthroughs, like, if you're not actively paying attention to the movie, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I just missed that. But, okay, this tracks. But when you are stuck watching it, and you're watching in real time, you're like, they didn't really have time to develop this. This is weird. This is a weird choice. And I get that the director did it about her family, and that was something that I was like, when I was watching the movie, and then I got to the credits, and it's like, in memory of my father's, and I was like, oh, this is based on a true story. Or, a fictionalization of a true story. Like, oh, I'm going to feel bad trashing this movie in the review now. But not that much. Because look, at the end of the day, you can do stories based on real life, but, make a good movie while you do it. Which this is not. And also, let's just get into the fucking Scarlett Johansson. I don't know why they went with Scarlett. I mean, look, clearly the reason Scarlett Johansson is in this movie is because she's a name. Clearly, this is one of those packaging deals where it's like they package the actress with the project, and now they can be like, look, they'll bring on other people. And then it brought in, I would assume, brought her, and then it brought in Sienna Miller. The issue is, it's not the worst fictional accent. It's not the worst fake British accent I have heard in a movie, because I have seen the Star Wars prequels. And I don't know what to say. Like, look, acting is all about choices, but Sam Jackson makes some choices in those movies. And that British accent he does is less a British accent and more a weird cadence. And look, it's not that. It's also not the fake British accent that Chris Hemsworth did in the first two Thor movies. That was kind of not great. That said, if we're looking at the conversation of fake British accents and we're like, this is where we're having this is where we are in this topic, I feel like there was probably a big name British actress that you could have brought in. Maybe not as big a name as Scarlett Johansson, but like at the same time, if the Royal Navy is covering part of the budget, and there's like a Jaguar sponsorship at one point, because like something worth noting here is that like there are a few like editorial bloopers that I'm like, these are the kind of things that like Nickelodeon magazine had that section where it was like, oh look, things that they missed in movies, like continuity errors. Like number one, Scarlett Johansson drives herself to the house and then gets picked up by a car service, which is strange, because like she has to drive herself so she can get the moment of getting out of the car at the property boundary and looking out at the house that she lived in as a child. Like, you need that. She needs to drive herself to get that moment, because if it's a car service, like, why is she pulling the car service over here just to do that, then getting back in and going? Like, it works better if she's looking out herself. So that's a necessary evil of this movie. Then comes then picking her up. It's like, okay, well, she needs to get picked up for reasons. Like, why couldn't she drive herself back to London? Like, to set an arbitrary timeline so that way they have to move up the thing so it doesn't matter anyway. Like, it's a weird choice that I'm not sure why they did that. And then the other thing is, the big blow-up that happens is you always have to have a big blow-up at about oh my god, there's no way that's the midway point of the movie. There's got to be a big blow-up that happens to start the third act in progress, which is this big fight that happens between the three sisters. And this big fight finally happens, and Emily Beecham pushes Scarlett Johansson in the river. and then like into, it's not like a deeper, it's kind of like a gully almost. It's not really a river. It's like kind of a pond. It's really more like a puddle more than anything else. But the water is running, and there is a dock on it. I don't know what boat is gonna go out on that because it's so shallow. But either way, it's like you have this thing where it's like she gets pushed in there, she gets out, she's immediately dry as a bone. And I'm like, really? You couldn't, you had to do that? And it's just small things like that, like on an editorial level, why do you do that? And it does that drone thing. If you've listened to this show, you've heard me talk about drone shots and how I hate drone shots in movies because all it does is it's designed to make a movie look more expensive than it was. And I've talked about it on the indie film side of things. Like you see it a lot in indie movies or very low budget films that you see at film festivals that are looking for representation. The issue is the drone shot doesn't do anything and doesn't have significance to the movie. All you're doing is telling the audience you had a little bit of extra budget at the end of making the movie. You're like, all right, let's do a drone shot too. Like, it doesn't add anything. It's just kind of weird, and that's what this movie has again. It has this, this ridiculous drone shot at the end of just this pan out with a drone on this thing, and I'm like, this movie's already long enough. We got to spend another 30 seconds slowly panning out to look at the entire aircraft carrier, like, because it's not like this is her making, like, I could see that if it was her making the decision to join the Navy, or if it was her making the decision to forego the relationship with Jack and stick with the Navy full time. But she doesn't really make a choice at the end. And it's like, she's on this ship, and it's like, okay, we're going to zoom out, 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 to be like, and now she's part of this thing that's bigger than her. Like, I get what you're going for. I get it, but it doesn't work because you're not, like, you haven't set up what this is meant to signify. So it's just a drone shot for no reason. But yeah, it's not great. And the one thing I thought was interesting about this movie, there's one really interesting choice they make. And I think that it works well for this movie. And what this is, it's throughout the movie, whenever we get Scarlett Johansson's flashbacks to her as a kid, they're not, they're not meant to be. I've seen now 4 separate people make illegal rights on red and almost hit someone. It's not, it's not done with, like, here's a young actress playing young Scarlett Johansson and here's the guy playing her father. It's not that. It's always animated. And I feel like this is the kind of thing that we're going to find out, like, a month or 2 from now was all done with generative AI. I'm not disparaging the quality or anything like that. It's just kind of a hunch I had when I was watching it. Holy crap, what happened there? Oh, God, I hope everyone's okay. Well, we'll see on the news later because there's no way the news isn't going to cover 6 ambulances outside of a Target. But I'm looking at, I'm looking at this, and it's this interesting idea where rather than having a character, have that, because what happens when you have a flashback with real humans is we as the audience are trained to view everything that we see as kind of real. Like, we as the audience are, like, anything we see, unless there's something to imply an unreliable narrator, we're trained to view everything that happens in a movie as this is a faithful retelling of the events. So to do that flashback, and if they were to do that as them as kids, I feel like that would have lost something. To do it with animation, where it's like people are missing, like the dad was missing his eyes, and that's a recurring thing, is missing the eyes, and like the voices are faded. It's playing into the idea that, audio is, the memories are imperfect. which is something that comes back into play at the end of the movie. If only they had done a better job of threading around everything else. Like, if the theme of the movie is memories are imperfect, we don't need the last half hour of the movie. But what it is. And I think that it does a great job of laying that out and being like, look, you don't remember everything perfectly because you were a child. You're just remembering it, you're remembering it the way you want to, and you're looking at it through the lens of romanticization. It does a good job of playing with that by having it all animated, and I don't think it's necessarily, it's not something that should be lost on anyone. And that is the interesting thing about the movie. Besides that, it's not great. But we'll wrap up there for today. I would say skip this movie. I would say you're probably better off seeing either of the other two movies that are playing this weekend. Either the other two new movies. You're probably better off seeing Freakier Friday or what's it called? Or what's the other one? Freakier Friday or Weapons. But it's not. It's just one of those things where it's just kind of disappointing. Not disappointing because I had no expectations for it. That's the wrong word. It's just kind of not good. It's kind of meh. But we'll wrap up there for today. I will say this, though, because they did pitch, I thought it was going to be a comedy going into it because, the trailers leading into it were all comedies, like Good Fortune, which looks really funny, the Aziz Ansari movie. Then there is what's the other one? The Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. That one looks pretty funny. The and the Threesome was the one that I had never heard of that movie before today. With what's her name from the Outfit, Zoe Deutsch from the Outfit. And it's her and the guy in it. Oh, Jonah Hauer, whatever his name is, from The Little Mermaid, and the weird girl from Bottoms. That one looks pretty funny. And what was the other one with Dakota Johnson and what's her name from Andor? That one was pretty funny too. So I went into this with the expectation it was going to be a comedy instead of kind of a drama. I don't know how to define it because it's not. I wouldn't say it's a comedy because it's not funny. It's not even a situational comedy or a cringe comedy, something like that. But it's also not a drama either. It's kind of like watching a news report of a series of events that happened, but it's almost like watching a documentary. A straight telling of events, but not in an entertaining way. Because even a documentary is entertaining. It's just, there are a lot of weird choices, and I don't think any of them necessarily pan out in this movie. But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be, next week we'll be starting Alien Earth, the new FX/Hulu original series. And then we will also be talking about, what's it called? There's another show we're going to be talking about in the near future, another movie. Is next week the start of... Let me look at my AMC app real quick. What the fuck was it? There's 2 movies next week, too. Nobody 2 and East of Wall next week are on the schedule. I don't know if either of them are good, but we'll see. But yeah, it is, it's all good. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.